Real Madrid are considering Arsenal's Mikel Arteta for their next head coach. That is a story that is doing the rounds this morning. That is an article that is definitely resonated within the Arsenal fan base, but very much from the point of view of keep my manager's name out of your mouth. Is there any credibility in this? Probably. Maybe not in this story, maybe not by this journalist. I actually checked the journalist out. He's got barely any followers. I don't know who he is, what they are. A very weird one for such a big Twitter account to put out. But is there some truth in this? Definitely. Of course, Real Madrid are talking about Mikel Arteta as their potential new manager because the man is working miracles at Arsenal. That doesn't mean Mikel Arteta's head will be turned. It doesn't mean they'll get him. But it's a compliment for your manager to be discussed at board level by one of the biggest, greatest, and most historic teams with the most outrageously deep heritage in football. That is a compliment, and it tells you that you are onto something good. A bit like when you've got a player that's linked to the Bayern Munichs and the Barças, Real Madrids of this world. They're brilliant. The same as when people tell you one of your best players is overrated, but if they get injured or there's rumors of them leaving, everybody banters you. There are times where you just know that a story is good for your club. But is this going to be pushed? Is this going to be picked up on? Maybe, but I think this is a latter stage strategy that some of the media will pick up on. Can we try and derail Arsenal by talking about the manager moving on, big clubs coming in for him? Maybe if we can create a little bit of unease, that'll increase the pressure. That'll be used as a tactic. Whether it's this season or edging into next year, it will be used at some point, kind of like a barometer to see whether Arsenal are gonna step up and keep him and keep improving the squad and keep challenging. That'll be the narrative. But I think Arsenal fans should take this as a compliment rather than reacting negatively to it, because it is just that. Probably the most famous club in the world, definitely the most successful in terms of European side of things. Looking and considering your manager tells you you are onto a winner. I would use it as a way of clapping back at people that doubt him and say that he's very, very average indeed. But I want your thoughts and I want your feelings. Also, make sure you scan that QR code up in the top corner there to download and follow the Top 6 podcast on Spotify. There's also a link in the description as well. If you don't use Spotify and use other podcast providers, there's a link in our description. Go and follow us there so you can listen to it on planes, trains, and automobiles, and much, much more.
Individualizing it, and I thought there was some shocking analysis on Sunday after the game where our captain, who's been fantastic this season, is being accused of wanting to come off, and then that hits the public arena and everybody reacts. I mean, I was speaking with Ben Foster yesterday and he was talking about it, and then afterwards he realized he didn't do it, and it's like that most of yesterday.
So true there from Mark Goldbridge. He's 110% right. The vast majority of us believe that Bruno had requested to come off because Gary Neville told us he did. And we expected Gary Neville to be telling us the truth.
Was people going in on Bruno Fernandes, and you just can't individualize that performance. Luke Shaw was terrible. Rashford was terrible. Varane was terrible. As a team, that's really bad. And last season, this was why Manchester United failed so badly, because the blame was shifted all around the team. There was leaks from the dressing room. Yesterday, there's a leak from an outlet saying that players in the dressing room are upset with Bruno. Maybe he shouldn't be the captain. And I'm like, whoa, who's upset in that dressing room that they're leaking to the press that they're unhappy with Bruno? You want to take a look in the mirror, mate.
This is absolutely true. And I think Mark is spot on in this analysis here, because it isn't just certain players that are maybe upset that they're no longer key features in this team. This is about certain Man United fans as well, who, in my opinion, are clucking and are hungry. There are a percentage of United fans on Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, who only have whose only commodity is being angry. Their spaces were full of thousands of people when United were crap and losing. Their YouTube videos got views when United were terrible. Their tweets were popping off when they were digging into the players and digging into the managers. And they have essentially had to go cold turkey this season. And because they've gone cold turkey, they've become irrelevant. and their egos are hurt. This defeat is embarrassing and the whole team deserves criticism. But the way Bruno Fernandes is being turned into a scapegoat is absolutely reprehensible. There's now a narrative that Bruno Fernandes is not trusted by Ten Hag because he's been moved out to the wide positions in a handful of games this year. Now, he's played 40 games in all comps this season for Manchester United. 33 of them he's played as an attacking midfield player. 7 of them he has played out wide. So this notion that he's always being moved out wide is firstly a complete lie. But why has he been moved out wide? One, we have no recognized number 9. Martial is consistently injured. Weghorst was moved into that role, but wasn't delivering. Did very well in the 10 position and was moved into that role so that we could have Rashford go up top and score goals. We needed someone to score goals. Weghorst wasn't going to do that. He couldn't be moved out wide. Dropping him to the bench created a problem. And that is where the second problem comes in. The manager does not have full faith yet. Doesn't have any faith in Elanga, any faith in Pellistri at all, really. Otherwise, they would have played some games. Sancho and Antony have had an abundance of injuries this year and have not been as consistent as we would like. That has led him to move his trusted captain into an unfamiliar position to ensure that the team's shape stays in place. And barring that catastrophic result against Liverpool, he has done it astoundingly well every time he has been asked to fill into a position. No different to that of Wayne Rooney, all those times he was put out wide when Man United had gaping holes in their squad. That is something to praise a player for, not to use as criticism. But when I said this quote tweet was put out that ask yourself why he's being moved all of a sudden, the coach finally coming to his senses. I've already rebutted that, in my opinion. This is because we've had wide player issues and a striker issue, and the rejig to create balance by the manager has led to Bruno having to move out into these wide positions. Let's just not forget, by the way, he led the club to a trophy a week ago playing in his favoured role. He scored the equaliser in the Manchester derby playing in that role. When we beat Arsenal earlier this season, he was playing in that role. So many big games this year, he's been put into that attacking midfield role and he's delivered. It's a lie to say anything different. But there was a tweet at the bottom here from Zidane Realist, who says, when I said that the manager trusts him, then we are effed, right? And this is my problem with Man United fans this week. Be angry at the result. Taking medicine from rivals, be embarrassed, but you're showing your asses. You're showing your asses because you're now acting, we're in trouble. We're going to fall apart. A week ago, you were talking about quads. You were talking about how brilliant this rebuild has been, how much you trust this manager. At the first sign of attention, I'm going to start to throw my toys out the pram and slag the club off again. Because that's all you've got. No one cares about your tweets or your videos or your opinion unless rivals are laughing at you. You really do need to do better.
Signing because he can't go to Arsenal. Man City and Liverpool have just bought strikers. Chelsea maybe, but I don't think so. So I think it really comes down to Manchester United or Newcastle. I don't think Harry wants to go to Bayern Munich because I think he wants to break Alan Shearer's goal record. Look, it splits United fans. I know loads of fans who would love Harry Kane. For me, he'd work perfect, but he's going to be 30 in the summer and he's going to cost £100 million. And I just worry that in the modern game, he might score loads of goals till he's 36. And if he does, yes. But I personally would like us to go for somebody a little bit younger, a little bit more long-term. But I think it will happen because I just can't see anywhere else that he'll go. And I know.
What do you guys make of what Goldbridge said there? We know from this article that Manchester United are confident of signing Harry Kane in the summer. Man United believe they can get this done. Goldbridge there, of course, that's from The Sun. Goldbridge is here. He works for TalkSport. The Sun and TalkSport are the same. So if you're someone that's against The Sun, don't watch TalkSport either. Is Harry Kane too old in your opinions? You all know what I think. Sign Harry Kane. I genuinely mean this. Sign Harry Kane this summer. Of course, you've got to improve the midfield and defensive areas. But if Harry Kane is one of our star signings this summer, Man United will definitely challenge for the league next season. And for me, will be one of the favourites to win it. Harry Kane is that good, that clinical. He would do everything that we've seen from Weghorst so far. But his quality of pass, his final ball, and of course the opportunities created for him in front of goal, he'd be putting away at such a higher rate than Weghorst. We've seen the kind of template under Weghorst, but we need a much more superior player. And I just think it has to be Harry Kane. But I want your views and I want your opinions on that in the comment section below. Now, I need to play you a video from Bhavs, and I need to get your take on this, people. Take a little listen.
That got me thinking, what would I prefer? My team to win the Carabao Cup or to beat my fiercest rivals 7-0? Now, for some...
Now, that's the question. What would you prefer? To beat your fiercest rivals or one of your biggest rivals 7-0, 6-0, 8-1, or win a trophy? Like, I would love, absolutely love your take on that right now.
A day out at Wembley, a chance to win a piece of silverware. But I don't value the Carabao Cup that highly. In fact, I think it's nowhere near the Premier League, the Champions League, and not even the FA Cup.
It isn't as good as a Premier League or a Champions League. Nobody's doubting that. But it's still a trophy. It's still a day out. It's, as you said, it's still silverware. When fans add up and look at who the biggest club in London is, or the biggest club in the world is, or the biggest club in England, you add up all your trophies. I don't see people discounting their domestic trophies at any point. So I need to run that question out to you. For me, listen, Bhavs is one of the best YouTubers out there. The Arsenal fan base love him, and he knows how to trigger rivals. He really, really does. I know he doesn't mean this, and the reason I'll come back to Bhavs in a minute. I want your view and opinion on this. For me personally, I would never swap a trophy for beating my fiercest rival 7-0. If someone said to me now, you can wipe from everybody's memory that 7-0 defeat at Liverpool, but it means the Carabao Cup trophy gets taken away from you, I wouldn't be giving the Carabao Cup trophy up. If this 7-0 defeat ruins Man United's season, we fall away from here, drop out the top 4, don't win any more trophies, and we carry on next year terribly and the manager gets sacked, then you can make an argument and say, well, do you know what, maybe, if I had a magic wand and I have to give up that trophy, the 7-0 result goes away and we go back to winning and we go on to win the FA Cup and be back in the Champions League and next year we challenge for the Prem, then you've got a point. But we don't live in that world. Hindsight's lucrative and we don't have that commodity at play right now. What would be more damning, though? The way where his point holds more water for me would be if it was the final day of the season. Say you won the Carabao Cup, but it was the final day of the season and you lose 2-0 to a team on the final day of the season and it stops you winning the Premier League. I'd give up the Carabao Cup to win that final game of the season because that would have led to a bigger trophy. That's the only time I'd give up a smaller trophy if it meant winning a bigger one. But I do want your take. But on Bhavs saying, by the way, that the Carabao Cup doesn't mean much to him, take a little look at this.
Were there any... Do you know what? It's hot. It pains me to say this. We sort of expected it.
Exactly.
So we're upset, but...
This is Bhavs outside Wembley after the 2018 Carabao Cup final with City.
Is it as bad as we thought it would be if we did lose? If we was going to lose?
Issue with me is that I expected it, so I'm not that depressed right now because I expected us to lose. So because I expected us to lose, but that's the problem right now. How am I expecting my team to lose in a cup final? We're Arsenal Football Club, one of the biggest clubs in the world, probably one of the biggest clubs in the Premier League, but we're dropping. We're coming to Man City, like Man City vs Wigan.
So you're hearing there, we're one of the biggest clubs in the world, but we're dropping. I'm coming to cup finals and expecting to lose. That sounds like someone that cares about the Carabao Cup to a certain degree.
Wigan had a better performance against than Man City than we did. How does that make sense? Will Grigg scored a goal against Man City, but we couldn't. Company was looking like fucking Maldini.
Any positives to take
Company's pretty good, to be fair.
out of this game?
Positives from this game? Nothing. The only positive is that we came Wembley and go buy it again. Is that positive? No.
Why are you angry? Why are you frustrated? The Carabao Cup final. It's a friendly, Bhavs.
Wembley ruined. My school day is ruined tomorrow. My whole week is...
His whole week and his whole school day is ruined. Now, I'll be fair with Bhavs. Maybe getting beat 7-0 by Spurs would hurt even more. But this notion from rivals that the Carabao Cup is meaningless, they don't care about it, it's a nothing trophy, is just a lie. And Man United fans do this as well. Man United fans, it's a Mickey Mouse trophy, it doesn't count. I'm just not going to hypocrisize myself. I'm not going to commit hypocrisy in that way. For me, I look at it from the point of view of this. It isn't as big as the FA Cup, Premier League or Champions League, but I still want to win it. And we'll go back to Bhav's first point. Would you give the trophy up to beat your biggest rivals 7-0? I want your thoughts and I want your feelings. Until next time, everybody, take care. Goodbye. God bless. and I'll see you all again very, very soon.